And as always, reviews and comments are welcome on the show. Look for us on our social media handles. Join us on TV, on Facebook, and on Twitter. We'll be glad to share your thoughts with the rest of the world. We are 7 days to go till Ghana heads to the polls to elect a president and representatives for the 275 constituencies. But it has been a torrid time in the run-up to the elections, with pockets of violence dotted along the campaigning and electioneering cycle. References can be made to the clashes at Odododio and Nima in the Greater Accra region, the Wolensi clashes in the northern region, Koforidia Sokori in the eastern region, and Badjase recently in the central region. At first glance, some inference can be drawn that it's a cause for worry, but security watcher, the West African Network for Peace Building (WANEP), says this year's election, in spite of all that we've seen, will be peaceful. Not all will agree, but let's find out why. Vincent Azuma is the regional coordinator in charge of monitoring, evaluation, and research at WANEP. Thank you, sir, for joining us today.
Thank you very much.
So we've seen a statement. You speak of optimism that this election will be peaceful, but the evidence does not speak to this happening. What do you see that we don't?
There's one thing knowing about it, and there's another not knowing at all. Because our early warning system has actually gathered all this data. So we know where troubles might come from, and we know what needs to be done, and we know what stakeholders need to do. So that is why we are very sure that we'll be able to contain any other eventuality that may happen.
In your assessment, what has been the trigger for this hotspots and flashpoints and the clashes we're seeing in the last few weeks?
Well, you know, this election is very critical for the two key leading parties, the incumbent NDC, and then we have the MPP. Because of that, conditions are very tense for all the supporters, but we must also know that there are other smaller parties who also want to also have a piece of the elections. So the complications have been very varied, and a lot of people have said that because of those tensions, there's going to be conflict. But because our early warning system has gathered enough information, and we have given enough recommendation to the key stakeholders to actually step in and ensure that people do not actually do what they don't need to do, then we are sure that we can actually contain the situation. But I also need to say that the hotspot that we talk about is not static. A hotspot that you can find out today might not be a hotspot tomorrow. So the hotspots keep changing, and our early warning system is able to monitor all those hotspots to ensure that today this might not be a hotspot, but tomorrow it might become a hotspot. And as soon as we get that information, we share it with the key stakeholders to take action. That's
okay, 7 days to go to the elections. I'm sure that much as you say things can change almost every single day. Tell us which constituencies are flashpoints. I know you can't give me the tall list, but give us some of them.
Well, I don't want to mention specific constituencies, but I want to say that our indications have shown that regions, the northern region gives us the red light, that's a red alert zone, that we need to be sure that we are able to actually have stakeholders to ensure that there's no conflict or violence around that place. We have part of the eastern region. Even the Volta region is also playing some interesting
Volta
roles.
region, you say?
Yes.
Which part of the Volta region?
It used to be a very cool region for, and we know that that's a region for the incumbent NDC party, but now things are changing. And talking about the Flower areas, the Denu areas, we are picking a few indications that we need to actually watch those regions as well.
What's the problem there? What's causing this becoming a flashpoint?
Well, it's about the talk about people coming from Togo and other places to come and vote for the incumbent NDC, and so some other political parties are very curious and want to actually stop those people. And some of these people might not be foreigners after all. So we are actually watching that very carefully to ensure that people should vote in peace and not in conflict.
So Northern Volta, parts of Eastern region. How about the Greater Accra region?
Yes, of course. We all know about Odododio and a few other Ablekuma and all those other places.
Ablekuma, which part of Ablekuma?
I don't have the list in front of me, so I can't tell you exactly where.
Okay.
But those are some of the places that we have seen on our radar that we need to be careful about.
The northern region has already been mentioned in the past, but what makes it a red light zone as we head into this election?
Well, it is because of all the groups that have been formed in the northern region that some of them actually have arms that the police don't even have, and a number of groups calling themselves Keep Fit clubs. So we've seen the growing of these groups in those regions. even parts of the Upper East and Upper West region. So something that we have not seen in the past. Now we've seen a number of those groups coming up, calling themselves Keep Fit Clubs. So, and these are signs for worry. We have actually warned the authorities to take care of those areas.
Okay, so the Ghana Police Service and the security agencies will do their bit. But for those watching you now, 7 days to go to an election, what do we all do to ensure that, much as these are flashpoints, we will avoid violence happening on election day?
Do what the law says. Don't take the law into your own hands. And I need to say this to the electorate. Look, our political parties, our politicians are friends. They eat and dine together. But we see them as enemies. They are not enemies. So if you're a follower of any of this party and you think that these guys are enemies, you are lying to yourself. Please don't go and kill yourself. No election in this country is worth your life. Please stay alive.
Okay, Mr. Zuma, you speak of the agencies doing their job, and I'm talking about the Ghana Police Service, the Election Security Task Force. Are you satisfied with the work they've done so far on the campaigning front, on the electoral process front, how they've dealt with clashes, which gives confidence or otherwise to any of the parties involved that this could be a peaceful election, that they can be a neutral arbiter?
I think the police and the military have actually done their work quite well. We know that there's more room for improvement, but I also want to put on record that it's not only the police or the army that need to ensure that there's peace in this country. There are civil society groups, even the media. We need to play roles in ensuring that there's peace. That is why OneUp and its partners, USAID, SHRAJ, NPC, and many others, Transform Network Ghana, are working tirelessly to ensure that we put in measures that will ensure that people are actually not fighting or not doing anything that we don't want to see in Ghana. Okay, some make reference, and I asked that question about the police service because some have made reference to the instances I mentioned in Wolensi, Kofredia Sokore, at Nima, in all these cases, the police are investigating. The outcome of these investigations are not out. No one has been punished for any action they've taken. So some say, much as you may be working, you are not giving closure to ensure that any party will feel confident and trust the Ghana Police Service to do a good job. There's one thing asking the police to be accountable to the state or accountable to the people. But there's another thing making sure that the police do actually are not stampeded to take actions that they don't want to take. During elections, there are a lot of emotions running amok. So actions that are taken by the police might be misconstrued to be other things. So we should allow the police to actually do their work professionally and come up with the results. No one should actually stampede the police. Okay. Now, you've spoken about the flashpoints and the fact that it changes in almost every election. Why is this election, per the analysis you've done, one that has too many of these areas which can be potentially violent? You know, this election did not come out of the blue. We came out from the recent election that went to court. And many people from other parties were not satisfied, even though it went to court. Thank God it was peaceful. But some people were not satisfied. So they are seeing this election as the one that will be the decider for Ghana, both for the incumbent government and for the opposition, leading opposition party, the NPP. So, and if you look at both leaders, it looks very much like if Mahama does not win this one, he might not get any other chance again. And you look at the opposition leader, if he does not win this one, that is the end of the road for him. So it paints a certain picture that shows that, look, all the two candidates want to win at all costs. That is why a lot of things are happening the way we're seeing them. But I also want to put on the record that, look, peace building or ensuring that there's peace is not an event. So people should have been working from the previous elections to ensure that tensions are calm. But people waited until December, November, and then they started working for peace. When you say people, which groups of people or bodies are we talking about? We have seen a lot of organizations jumping into the fray, marching and doing media work and all that, asking for peace. Can you be a bit specific? Which bodies are you referring to? I don't want to mention names here, but I just want to point to the fact that because we are professional peace builders, we don't wait until election before we do our work. So if everybody else had started working from the previous elections, we will not be seeing the kind of tension we are seeing now. You mean the political parties? The political parties. The Peace Council? The Peace Council. Now you are forcing me to mention names. That's your word anyway. But I mean all those organizations that are actually working for peace now went to sleep just after the previous elections. and are now waking up to come and work. If we had all been working towards peace until now, we will not be seeing the kind of tension we are seeing in Ghana today.
Okay, one thing we need to mention, and once you talk about the flashpoints and people having the chance to be violent, is what they use in instances like this. And I'm talking about the arms in the country. We know 1.2 million is in the country, proliferating. Have we done well in that regard? Because we had the Interior Ministry speak of a program to get the guns back. But have we been scratching the surface in dealing with this challenge?
Yes, we have been scratching the surface. We know that Honorable Professor Bani did well to actually get some arms and to burn them, to destroy them. But the question is, if somebody is keeping arms for certain purposes, and you ask the person to bring those arms, do you think the person is going to bring them back to you? No. So there's a lot of arms still in the wrong hands in Ghana, which is a cause to worry. That is why the institutions know that this number of arms are in the wrong hands, and so they are very vigilant to ensure that people don't get to use these arms during these elections. For that, we are sure that, well, we may have some trouble here and there, but not as what people are thinking about, not to the extent that people are talking about.
You speak with a lot of hesitation in this regard. Are you disappointed that the ministry could not do enough in this, in getting the guns out of the system?
I think they did their best, because getting arms out of the wrong hands is not an easy task across the world. And I don't think Ghana can just do magic and get the arms out of the wrong hands. It's something that needs to continue for a number of years. It is not only this election year that needs to happen. Even after the elections, we need to continue to ensure that arms do not go into the wrong hands. And those that have arms need to be registered, and they need to actually renew their license every year. And that is also another weak point.
Okay. You've already mentioned that you wouldn't want to speak to specifics for flashpoints, but I'm sure for many who are home who may be voting in this constituency, they want to know. So when they get there, they know what to do. Maybe not stay around at the polling stations for too long and get home early. Can you just tell us, at least for some of them in the country, so we can all keep an eye out and ensure that things don't happen the wrong way?
I have already mentioned that a lot of the polling stations around the northern region, specifically Tamale, they are flashpoints, and so any police station you go in Tamale, please just vote and go back home quietly. If you are around the Denu, Aplau areas, please be careful. You need to actually take care so that you don't fall into any trouble. Go vote and get back home peacefully. And if you live in Ododio, please be careful.
Okay, so these are three cities and areas you mentioned here. For last stretch, we know you've rolled out a plan in monitoring from now to December 7. Tell us what is going into this plan for your monitoring in terms of security.
Yeah, we actually working with a number of organizations, including National Peace Council, SHRAJ, Transform Network Ghana, and Blogging Ghana. And so what we have done actually to actually work with our data with a setup called the Regional Early Warning and Response Group, and then the National Early Warning and Response Group. So what we are doing is ensuring that once we get any information that shows that there's going to be trouble in these areas that we just mentioned, if it's in the region, the Regional Early Warning Group will then kick-start response activities. And then the National Early Warning Group also kick-start response activities. So we have all these groups stationed in every region of Ghana. And the key areas that I can mention is one in Tamale, one in Kumasi, and then the national here in Accra. So they coordinate to ensure that if they cannot actually resolve the issues, then they can actually call in the law enforcement agencies to actually work on it. So we are working tirelessly to ensure that there's peace.
Mr. Zuma, as you wrap up, your statement said that you are hopeful for peaceful elections, but your hope is not more than 50%, is it?
I think it's above 80%.
Above 80?
Sure.
But with what you just explained and the areas that trouble can erupt, it's not looking too good, is it?
Yeah, it's because I'm saying that if you don't know what is going to happen, then you are hopeless. Because we know, because our data has shown that this may happen, then we can actually put in the response mechanism to take care of all those troubles.
Okay.
That is why we are very optimistic.
Thank you, Mr. Zuma, for your time. Vincent Zuma is the regional coordinator in terms of research, monitoring, and evaluation at the West African Network for Peace Building. We're talking security. 7 days to go to the elections. Everything matters. Beyond the politics, security also is important.